But you can't make up the rules as you go along, and after 3 years, you can't change the rules on me. And you can't hold that hearing and reach that decision and then say you're going to consult me. This is clearly already a fait accompli. The problem is if I'm caught, everyone's caught. Every time you go live, anyone who wants to communicate with an audience via the internet without the expense, without setting up a massive terrestrial broadcasting structure, you are all going to be covered by the BSA if you're a company. You will all be subject to the gangs of online activists and wokesters who will try and destroy you and destroy your business. So that is why this is a wider free speech issue. I am not a lawyer. I run the platform on the goodwill of you, its listeners, and we stand for free speech. I think the Broadcasting Standards Authority is a joke. I think what it's done is appalling and Orwellian. I am going to OIA every single piece of communication within the Broadcasting Standards Authority about me and the platform. And I can guarantee you they're going to say, oh, we can't tell you what legal opinions we got because that's legally privileged, not good enough. I'm going to go to political parties and politicians. I'm going to tell them to stop the Broadcasting Standards Authority. And I will not comply. The platform will not comply. And if that means the end of the platform, I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees to bureaucrats who would censor not just me, not just the other hosts, not just our guests, but you as well. I'll read the complaint to you. And it's from Richard Fanselow. And I can remember this guy complaining at the time. He's written to Helen. Hello, Broadcasting Standards Authority. Below is a request for comment from the platform about what I consider. It wasn't a complaint. It was a request for comment from the platform about what I consider to be unacceptable racist comments made by Mr Plunket online, not broadcasting online. I was doing so following your process of contacting the media outlet first. Hopefully the description of what I complained about is clear enough. The word used was actually that tikanga is mumbo jumbo. Yes, I did say that, and I still believe it. Tikanga is mumbo jumbo, Richard Fanselow. Tikanga is mumbo jumbo. Stick that up your jumper. And the response from the platform is pretty clear too. Are they correct that they are not covered by your standards? Is there any kind of remedy for this obviously racist talk? Richard Fanselow. Thanks, Richard. And when Richard wrote to me, he said, well, I think that's unacceptable. This is a complaint under the Broadcasting Standards Authority. And I just said, you plonker, we aren't subject to the Broadcasting Standards Authority. And Richard runs off to the Broadcasting Standards Authority. Now, I don't think his complaint's got any merit. The only thing that I did wrong was said something that Richard, who's a woke-ster, disagreed with. But that's what freedom of speech is. That's what public debate is. So when Richard Fanselow ran off to the BSA, did they come to me and say, look, we've got an issue with this, let's talk about it? No, they didn't. They had a secret meeting and they produced a draft decision that, without reference to Parliament, which wrote the original Broadcasting Standards Act or Broadcasting Act in 1989, long before the internet even existed, they came up with, and I'll just show, it's got not for publication written all over it, but you send something to a journalist, this is what's going to happen, sweetheart. Okay, this is a provisional interlocutory decision of the Broadcasting Standards Authority. And the people who sit on that, Susie Staley, MNZM, she's the chair, John Gillespie, Araha Beck, and Karen Fenton Ellis, MNZM. And this is the draft. So they've already made this decision, really. It's just a setup. The Broadcasting Standards Authority found it has jurisdiction to consider a complaint about the platform's live talkback program on the basis the transmission of the program met the Broadcasting Act's definition of broadcasting. Taking a purposive approach to the Act, which is designed to provide for the maintenance of program standards in New Zealand broadcasting, The Act is appropriately seen as capturing such modern forms of broadcasting. As there is currently no code of broadcasting standards specifically addressing the online broadcasting context, the complaint will be considered with a view to determining the broadcaster's compliance with its obligations under Section 4 of the Act. But no, I don't have any obligations under Section 4 of the Act because the Act does not apply to the platform or indeed to anyone else who streams anything online. Under this definition, Joe Rogan could be subject to the Broadcasting Standards Act of New Zealand. I might add that they can fine a company up to $100,000 and supposedly take them off air. The complaint. The complaint relates to concerns about what the complainant alleges were unacceptable racist comments in the platform's 22nd July program of 2025. As contemplated under the Broadcasting Act in 1989, the complaint was first referred to the platform. The platform replied, "You plonker, we aren't subject to the Broadcasting Standards Act," because we weren't. Is the platform a broadcaster? Question mark. The platform, operated by the Platform Media New Zealand Limited, is a digital media platform or online radio station. No, we're a digital media platform. Radio is a specific message of transmission, which we don't do. Okay. We have therefore addressed as an interlocutory issue whether the authority has jurisdiction over such an entity's programs. The Act governs broadcasters and broadcasting. The terms are defined as broadcaster, subject to subsection 2, a person who broadcasts programs, which I don't. Broadcasting transmission or programs, whether or not encrypted by radio waves or other means of telecommunication for reception by the public by means of broadcasting receiving apparatus, but broadcasting receiving apparatus, telephone, television or radio set, but does not include any such transmission of programs made on the demand of a particular person for reception, like pushing the app button on your phone, or only by that person, made solely for performance or display in a public place. A program, in turn, is defined as means, sounds or visual, a combination of sounds and visual images intended to inform, enlighten or entertain. We certainly do that. To promote the interests of any person, well, we just promote the interests of free speech, or to promote any product or service. We have some advertising. Based on all these definitions, we consider the platform was broadcasting when airing the relevant content. The definition of a program is broad and would readily capture the audio and visual content in the platform's live talkback offering. It would capture so many things. The platform also broadcasts the program by virtue of having transmitted it. We've put it online. By other means of telecommunication, a broad expression capable of capturing conveyance through the internet. Capable of, but it doesn't. For reception by the public by means of a broadcasting receiving apparatus, which we consider includes any device which enables a member of the public to receive the transmission of relevant programs through the internet, including a computer or mobile phone. So they're really pushing the boat out here. And don't forget, the Act they work under, they were set up under, written in 1989, before the internet exists. Sean, and here's the really interesting bit. While this type of broadcasting may not have been contemplated when these positions were drafted under Section 11 of the Legislation Act 2019, legislation applies to circumstances as they arise. So they're basically saying we will make this up as we go along, even though we're not Parliament. Taking a purposive approach to the Act, which is designed to provide for the maintenance of program standards in New Zealand broadcasting, it is appropriately seen as capturing such modern forms of broadcasting. We accordingly consider the authority has jurisdiction and is therefore required to consider the complaint. Signed on behalf of the authority by Susie Staley. So they're basically saying, well, we just reckon we can. We just reckon we can. Well, I reckon you can't. I reckon you've got to go back to Parliament. I reckon Parliament's got to ask whether the Broadcasting Standards Authority even has a reason for existing.